What really got me excited was I saw that you are already talking about several different exit strategies here tonight. Okay. So not just like the one trick pony, like, hey, I'm looking for the guy who's going to sell for 45, 50 cents on the dollar. Like I saw that you have some other, I wouldn't call them, tricks up your sleeve, but you've got some pretty proprietary things that you're doing to acquire these deals. Is that right, Dan? Hey everybody, Justin Chamness here. This is our weekly live stream on Wednesday nights where we're all about helping you get to that first deal or maybe that next deal. Sometimes we get stuck a little and we need a little prompt, a little help getting to that next deal. Well, that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you do that. I'm Justin Chamness, and tonight I've got a very, very special guest. I don't do this very often, but I have somebody on from my local market here. And you guys know that I normally I've had a lot of tremendous guests on this show from all around the country in different eras of real estate. And tonight I'm very, very stoked to be introducing Dan Kohan from the Kansas City real estate market, because Dan is, you can tell he's a younger guy than me, right? And he's really, really making waves, everybody. He's really getting things done. And I saw that he's getting a couple deals under contract every week, or regularly, routinely weekly like this. And I don't care what market you're in. I don't care what age you are or what background you are. To accomplish that's quite a tremendous feat. And so I admit my eyebrows raised, my jaw drops a little, and I'm like, hey, I've got to get to know this guy because we can learn something from him. I know. And so he's here tonight. He was very gracious to say yes to my invitation. So I want to introduce tonight Dan Kohan from the Kansas City real estate market. Now, Dan, I want you to kind of just introduce yourself. There is a link to Dan's YouTube channel in the description, but tell us a little bit about your background and journey as a real estate investor. What got you started in it? And, and how did you get up and going so good?
Sure, Justin. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, about myself. So I'm 23 years old, pretty young, and I have been in real estate for just about 3 years. Before that, I was in business, marketing and sales background. Came from the e-commerce. I did that for about 5 years. In 2020, I got into real estate and did that I was still working my job. I bought some buy and hold. So my first deal was a house hack duplex I bought as a primary residence. And then about 8 months later, I bought another turnkey house that I rented out. Then I got introduced in 2021 to flipping. So me and my full-time business partner now, at the time we were really good friends, and he was actually a real estate agent and was doing that. I had saved up again a good amount of money from my job. And so we decided to go ahead and do a flip together. I put up the money. He did all the work, or actually he managed all the work, but we actually bought that house cash and did the rehab cash, and we just split it 50-50, so just like a pretty traditional kind of flip JV. So we did that one. The intent was to burr that property. So, rehab it and hold it. He was going to keep it, and then he was going to pay me out what I had contributed plus, half the profit. So that went very successfully, pretty much, almost exactly how we had calculated it would, which is rare sometimes. But right. So it actually went really good. He was pretty much dead on with the ARV, and we were able to do that. It was actually kind of a tough, not in the rehab, but afterwards trying to get the free finance because the lender he had chosen didn't work out the first time. And I had 2 deals that were contingent on the money that I was going to get back from that. But I managed to patch those together. We got a different lender, and we were able to close those 2 deals. So I bought 5 more doors, a duplex and a triplex shortly after that were buy and hold, pretty much turnkey. They needed a little work, but not a lot. Then basically we just started flipping. So that went well. So we flipped. I was still working, and I just, was providing the money. We ventured into getting, some hard money and things like that to expand. And we did 12 flips last year, just in 2020, 2022, just that way while I was still working. So I quit my job in September of last year, late September, because basically I was making more money, rehabbing houses than I was in my job, and wasn't taking any time. So I liked my job, worked there for almost 5 years, but the opportunity was greater. There just wasn't the kind of runway with W2 opportunity there. You
can say that again. And there's a lot of people out here watching in my audience, I know, that are clocking in, or clocking out, or they're on the salary game or whatever it is, and they can totally relate, and they want what you're talking about right now. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so I'm going to try to pull some gold nuggets out of you here this evening for these folks, because you've done some pretty remarkable things in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, congratulations on that. Where are you wanting all this to go? Because sure. you built a really, I can't say a small portfolio, because how many, 7 or 8 houses, 9, how many you got now?
So now it's rapidly expanded. I actually own over 40 doors now.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So, in the last year, it's really taken off. I went full time. I had some, my rental income was kind of paying the bills. I was making, 3,000 or 4,000 net a month from that. And, with the already flipping, I was taking home, I mean, we keep a lot of our profits in equity, doing a lot of burrs, but, doing very well there. But I needed, a way to make money, make cash. Right. So
Right.
I was like, I kind of went into wholesaling, I think the kind of the backwards way a lot of people do. So like most people, they don't have a skill really where they can make a lot of money. And so they get into wholesaling to get money so that they can do flips and invest and things like that. I kind of had already invested and done flips. And then I kind of went into wholesaling because it's like a great way to make a lot of cash with very low overhead, and you can very rapidly make it and scale it up. So, I got started in that. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I did it like, my philosophy is like, I'm going to do it, figure it out before I really like throw a ton of money or stuff at it, so because I want to know how to do it and have success before I just double down, because I don't want to be stupid. It's just like you can do that and then just like, throw money at it and then it doesn't work. And then, you're throwing money down a hole. Right. So
yeah, exactly. What really got me excited was I saw that you are already talking about several different exit strategies here tonight. When I say I got excited, when I saw on Facebook, you were posting that you were acquiring properties through various strategies as well. Okay. So not just like the one trick pony, like, hey, I'm looking for the guy who's going to sell for 45, 50 cents on the dollar. Like I saw that you have some other, I wouldn't call them, tricks up your sleeve, but you've got some pretty proprietary things that you're doing to acquire these deals. Is that right, Dan?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not, I do use a lot of different acquisition strategies and also exit strategies, very open, but I wouldn't say anything it's proprietary or secret. I mean, it's all out there. I think there's a few different ways to do things. I mean, if you're talking about like, I mean, what are you referring to? Like what kinds of stuff I'm buying or how I'm finding it or what?
Yeah. So great. I'm glad you backed me up here a little bit, Dan. What I'm talking about is like here in Kansas City, you're acquiring properties in a geographical circle. So you won't drive how far out will you drive from Kansas City?
I mean, generally, an hour and a half is my max. We try to keep things within 30, 40 miles, 30, 40 minutes,
Okay, so you've got a radius here that you're comfortable in. So you're doing acquisitions inside this circle here. So what is a deal criteria for you? I mean, we'll talk about how you get the leads and stuff, but I'm very excited to find out how are you looking at a deal when a deal presents itself to you? Because you're not just looking at it as like, hey, I'm going to make a lowball cash offer, 45, 50 cents on the dollar, because that doesn't fit every homeowner. So am I making sense? Your thought process when a deal presents itself, how are you like, because I see that sometimes you're doing a cash offer. Sometimes you're doing something else that's a little creative, like maybe subject to, or maybe some kind of owner finance or some kind of an arrangement like this. And I've seen you on Facebook talking about these things. So can you tell me how you approach a deal when a lead lands in your lap that's like, hey, we want to talk. We're pretty motivated. Yeah. And here's the numbers. Okay. Where's Dan go from there?
So my default is the cash offer for sure. Just the 50 cents, 40 cents on the dollar, cash offer, quick close kind of thing. That's where I'm always trying to go for the most part. If I can, I try to keep it simple, keep it fast, and then I think what happens is if they want to do that, then that's great. More often than not, they don't, they don't want to sell cheap enough or whatever, just with all the leads you get. So the next thing would be typically it asks for some kind of payments, which is a seller finance or sub two. Generally, I'm going to phrase it like, well, I think we're too far away on price, right, for cash, but would you be willing to take payments with a sizable down payment?
Okay. Right? Now, you throw sizable down payment out there because you're not afraid of down payment.
Well, I'm not. And I don't think I think they don't know what a sizable down payment is, right? Like you have an idea in your head. Like you probably think it's like plus 20%, probably,
or
something like that.
Or close. Yeah.
But they might have put 3% down on their house, like $5,000 maybe a lot of money, right? So it's like I bought 2 houses that I have on long-term seller finance that I put $5,000 down, right? And that was enough skin in the game for them. Like they just want enough to where they know you're for them, you're not going to walk away. And generally these are older people that you'll do these with. $5,000 for them is a lot more than $5,000 for you, if that makes sense.
I understand. Awesome gold nuggets there, everybody. If you probably want to hit the rewind button because he really just laid out some really awesome tips for you about down payment and how people think about it. And then he even gave you the setup question when talking to a homeowner when it comes to transitioning from a lowball cash offer that they're saying no to a creative solution that they're saying yes to.
Right.
So, hey, Dan, can you give us an acquisition story where you acquired a property deal? Can you give us another example story? Because I'm really enjoying that, man.
Sure. Do you want it on the seller finance or something else?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great if you can tell us, one of those, because I'm all about creative and, because sure. I used to be, an ugly house guy, or I thought I wanted to be. And man, it's a tough racket just going out there with, one bullet in your gun. It's like, hey, low ball offer. Oh, missed. Low ball offer. Oh, missed. Okay. So I'm so stoked about learning more and growing. My audience is very in tune to learning new things about how do I get them to say yes to something. Okay. So yeah, tell us one of those, man, because I know you got loads of those.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the seller finance, with any kind of payment, that's going to be your second thing that I would go to. For example, we just bought probably honestly one of the best deals we've ever bought. We bought this triplex. It works on multifamily, so we bought a triplex on contract for deed, what we did, but it's contract for deed, seller finance. It's literally functionally the same thing. It's no different. You don't take title in contract for deed, but it's literally, I bought a house that a guy had on contract for deed, and that guy sold it to me, and he just went to the guy that the title holder and got basically a mortgage payoff and sold it, right? So it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So we bought that. So he wanted, basically the story was he had this triplex severely under rented. He's renting these units for $300 a month for, two 1-bed and 1 2-bed unit. 2 of them weren't paying, right? So he's making $300 a month on this building. Okay. We talking about price, and I'm talking to him, and he wants $75,000 for this triplex, which is a good price, cash, right? It's a good price.
Great price.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about, probably once it's fixed and re-rented, probably 180 ARV on this
Let me ask you a question, Dan. Is this war zone area stuff, or are you kind of all over the place, or both suburbs and inner city? Or I hate to interrupt the story, but
yeah, so no, it's not on this one. What I personally buy and acquire is all in suburbs and at least C, B class areas.
Yes.
Now that I found buyers in these war zone urban core areas, we do trade those. We don't generally buy those or flip them, but we wholesale them. But like this one that for an example, Warrensburg, which you're familiar with, I'm sure, but is a kind of a tertiary rural area. But it's by no means a dangerous or bad area. It's more rural, and the sellers are generally friendlier there. There's a good amount of buyers there, though, because a lot of people in Kansas City do buy there. But no, I mean, honestly, the bulk of my portfolio is in the Northland. It's mostly B and C class, good working class, and even better neighborhoods. Right. And we try to stay in the good areas. I mean, if we can. I mean, I know a lot of wholesalers. It's definitely easier to acquire deals in the urban core and the rougher spots. But our philosophy is there's a lot of them that come out. I would probably gamble that most of them never close. Because these guys have them just locked up so high, and they'll just lock up anything, right? The ones in the urban core, we just sold a pair of them. We made a $20,000 assignment that we split with another gentleman, but a lot of that stuff, it might be easy to lock up, but you're going to have a hell of a time trying to sell it and dispo it, and it's just not worth it for us. I mean, we'd rather have a harder time on the acquisition and know 100%. Hey, if it's a good deal for us, we'll buy it if we can't get anyone else to buy it, and it gives us a lot of flexibility with the buy. And that's the other thing with the local market is when you're local, the market in every pocket and area so well that it's you can make decisions so much faster than when you're trying to go, nationwide. You got to re-educate yourself on every deal that comes along.
Let's get back to that triplex, man.
So I built good rapport with that guy, and we walked the units. That was actually an incredible deal because the lead came in. One of my bird dogs called him, gave me his number. I called him, set the appointment for the same day. That's one thing, you got to be speed to lead on these things. You got to go fast. If it sounds like a deal, I jump on it as soon as possible. But so anyway, we're talking. He says the price cash, and maybe a novice would just okay, yeah, let's do it, right? But this one, our buy box for seller finance or any kind of payments type arrangement is we'll buy it and keep it if it's very turnkey or minimal rehab. Because on those, it's going to be very difficult to get any kind of secondary financing. It's just not, you're going to have more money of your own. You're going to put your own cash to work it. So, this one needed very little work. He wanted, $75,000. That was his price. I'm okay, let me think about it. I went back, talked to my partners in the car, and I came back to him hey, I think I called him on the phone or something like that. It was right after. And I gave him an offer. I was we can do $55,000 cash, or we can do $75,000 on payments. All right. And I told him the payments. I was we'll put $5,000 down, and we're going to give you, I was thinking it worked out to $292 a month on a 20-year AM, a 10-year balloon. So 0% interest.
This is in Warrensburg?
Warrensburg, yeah.
Wow.
And I've done one of these in North Kansas City, you can do them all over the place, but he contemplated it for a day.
Hold on, because people from all around watch this, and they don't know that Warrensburg, like you said, is a college town. Yep. Literally 45 minutes from my front door. Not considered Kansas City proper, not even considered part of Kansas City Metro, okay? There are cool pockets like this. Listen, that's what he's saying. I found me a little honey hole over here, everybody, and he's talking about an incredible triplex deal. The guy wanted $50K. He's going to make a $50K offer cash. Instead, he offered $75K owner finance. A no-brainer for Dan, probably in either direction, right? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan. I just wanted people to realize how incredible this really is.
They're everywhere. This whole illusion that there's no deals and that the market's too saturated is a crock. I just went and saw 4 houses today. 4 off-market sellers that the guys are all wanting to sell at great prices or pretty good. Where I can work them down. I mean, every day I'm going on appointments. You just got to go hunt for it. You're not gonna if you're just sitting there watching the deals come through Facebook. They're all marked up to hell. You're never gonna get a good deal just sitting there, right? If all the good deals are already sold, or you got to go out there and find them.
Yeah, we got to talk about that now, man. Dan, you're awesome, dude. You're a lot of fun. Talking about you've really given us a lot tonight, man, and I'm really grateful for it because you've given us some insights about locating deals, and there's little honey hole pockets of places that you're overlooking out there, everybody. But then not only that, but not being just pigeonholed into the lowball cash offer, but being a little flexible and creative in your solutions that you you can offer homeowners and offering them more than they would maybe expect in a cash offer. Wow, that's it's crazy, but it worked, right?
So,
what's your
after
vacancies?
Sure.
And
So we're
blah, blah, all
rehabbing
that,
it just
right?
until I turnover. We'll probably put 25,000 in renovations across 3 units, and then it'll rent for probably the whole thing will rent for about $1,800 a month with a $292 principal only payment, right? So like so we'll have insurance and stuff. Probably be netting probably close to $1,000 a month in free cash flow. Pick up with like $100,000 in equity,
Yeah, that too.
Right.
Incredible. Well, I would call that a home run, Dan.
For sure.
That's a good story, dude. Let's talk about how you're getting leads, man. Because you said you don't have to give us all your secrets, man. But I know you're giving us some good stuff right here. You just let the cat out of the bag a little, so to speak, that you're going on appointments every day. And I know you're working hard. And I was texting you today about the session here tonight. And you're out at viewings today and looking at properties and making offers and seeing if you can get deals. Can we talk a little bit about how you're getting leads in a local market? And can we talk a little bit about KPIs? Or in other words, like, you're making offers and are all of them saying yes? What should our expectations be if we want to be Dan?
So yeah, you're going to have to put in a lot of work. It's not
really. Oh boy.
I mean, but our strategy is the backbone has been just a lot of calls. We make a lot of phone calls. It's that's how I got started. And I have a caller now, and I just hired an acquisitions manager, and I have a few other bird dogs / novice wholesalers that are out there calling, and they basically bring me deals. We've just added on. We've been doing mailers for pretty much the whole year. We've just gotten a couple deals from that. And then, we just started PPC, Google PPC, pay-per-click ads like a couple weeks ago and gotten a few leads from that. We haven't converted anything, but, some of them have been solid. And besides that, honestly, I get a lot from my network because posting a lot, and I do a meetup every month in Kansas City, a free networking meetup with a speaker. And then now, honestly, my secret strategy is I've been hosting these how to wholesale classes for people that want to learn how to wholesale. And to be totally honest, I do that. I charge like $79 for it to, A to Z, very thorough. And I'm very transparent with people. Like, I'm like, hey, I've got a mentorship, but my goal with the whole thing is that I want to teach people how to wholesale effectively and get good deals so that they bring them to me and we either wholesale them together or I buy them, right? And like I have all these people out there that are looking for deals, and I don't need all the money, right? I don't need all the pie, but there's so many deals out there. Like I'm never going to find them all myself, but if you've got an army of, people that are out there looking, they run across something and who's the most competent person I can think of? Well, it's the guy that taught me how to do it. I'm going to call him up and have him help me work on it. And then I'll help him close it, help him do it, and make sure the price is right, and we'll all make money. So leveraging the network, I mean, I think social media is heavily underutilized. It's not that hard. You just post what you're doing all the time, and just people seeing you, they'll naturally send you stuff.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. And I know another fella having great success with the same technique, man. I think it's an awesome technique. It's super brilliant. And if you're out there listening and you're in a local market that you want to tap, I think it's important to start reaching out. Hey, look what I'm doing. I reached out to Dan, because, right? All right, because I see something in Dan that, hey, I need to get connected with that guy because maybe I'll bring a deal to Dan. Hey, maybe I will bring a deal to Dan. Is that cool, Dan?
Do it.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. See, now we're cooking with grease. All right. You can do the same thing in your local market out there, everybody, and mix it up. Let's go out there and start some meetup groups, or maybe start a Facebook group, or start a local Zoom meeting once a month, or a local thing at Denny's. You can do that too, right? Hey, where do you do your local meetup at, Dan?
It varies by location. I've actually just been doing them at the library. The last couple, the library community room, it just costs $75, and it's basically almost free. And a couple sponsors have helped that, and I bring food in, and we've gotten 60-ish people there a lot of times, and they're all high-level guys. So but it really helps build your credibility and relationships.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome, man. I saw that, and I was wondering, is that something that you're going to keep localized? Because we're talking about now, we've kind of crossed the bridge a little bit from real estate into talking about, like, I'm going to bring it up. You didn't bring it up, Dan, but I'm going to bring it up. Education. Because you're educating these folks in your local market for the end goal of doing joint venture partnership deals with taking these strangers, making them acquaintances and then friends, and now we're business buddies and we're making money, and all that's brilliant. Do you have a bigger, grander idea of more than just Kansas City, Dan?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I love to work with, have a bigger event, work with people around the country. I mean, I have done JVs. Like right now, we're about to close one in Florida, and that's just because I saw me on social media, brought me a deal, and I helped them work it, and it's going to be a $10,000 check for me. I do want to go, bigger, of course. course, with the my YouTube channel, Dan Kohan on YouTube, share all my stuff. I think that people have there's a fallacy to an extent that like maybe when you get to higher levels of wholesaling where you just are doing so much volume that it's you tap out your lead flow. Most of the viewers that are watching this probably like you're going to be the most effective locally. Like there's so many deals there that you can work. I'd rather build a very high degree of influence in my local market where I'm going to have all the buyers and all the other wholesalers working and all the knowledge and the lenders and all the infrastructure is already right. The contractors are already all here to where every deal that comes through, it's like so much easier of a decision. I already know who's going to buy it. I already know who's going to lend on it. And I know the numbers like the back of my hand. And it's just like, it's simple, right? And it's like, and then I can just continue to double down. Like I'm not trying to be a digital nomad, go sit on the beach and have my global reach, right? Like there's no need. I can become multi-millionaire just, working these deals in Kansas City, right?
Right. Yeah.
For now.
That's wisdom, everybody. That's wisdom. I talk a lot about a marketing thing that I do. I go to 46 different states. I always try to tell people, hey, that's just one thing that I do because I don't want to forget my home. Okay. My local market, because there are relationships here in my local market that have made me countless amounts of money and just requiring effort as little as sending a text. I'll give you an example. I got an email from somebody saying, hey, listen, I've got this deal in Kansas City. Do you know of a buyer that might be interested? Oh, well, hold on. Let me send a text to someone. Oh, snap. We're making money again. Okay. See, that's the power of the local market relationships that Dan is talking about. Development. Like I think he said he's got like, there's a power in this local market in building something there too. Okay. So while you may be doing something, if you follow some of my tips somewhere other than home, like he said, your home is where you can really, really develop an empire. You can develop a kingdom for yourself. You can develop a safety net of relationships of people that will help bail you out when you get in tight spots. Is that right, Dan? Have you ever been in a tight spot?
Absolutely. Thankfully I've been able to keep myself pretty good, but it's just real, like, I mean, the one time where I was really hard up to get this refinance done and I called the local bank relationship I had and he was able to do a loan, in 2 weeks, basically, on top of Christmas because I had that relationship and he knew who I was, knew I was good for it. And just as one example.
That's a good example. I want to ask a couple more questions here before we wrap up probably. But sure. Number one, I want to talk about real estate markets being cyclical. And there's a lot of talk about crashes and not crashes and the prices going up and supply and demand. And there's 6.5 million houses short and then the buyers and the interest rates. And oh my goodness, people get frozen in fear.
Right.
So what's your approach, Dan? How do you see things?
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad everyone's frozen in fear because, the people that know what's up there's more deals for me, I mean, especially as a wholesaler, like you're just working in the sliver, you're in the wedge. So it's like, no matter if the price is 200,000 or 20,000, right? Like you're just buying it cheaper or buying it higher and selling it for more. It's just like, regardless of if the market crashes or if it goes up or whatever, down, it really doesn't matter because there's always going to be distress, there's always going to be debt and divorce, and neglect, and it doesn't matter, so there's always going to be deals no matter what.
Let me say it like this too, from an example you gave. In a market that's up or a market that's down, what market is there that a triplex owner financed for $75,000, a couple $100 a month in principal only payments? What market is that not a good deal? Anybody.
And I did that a month ago, right. So it's
good, bad,
these
ugly,
deals are out
it doesn't
there.
matter. That's a great deal in any market, right?
And, don't get me wrong, like, there are certain things right now, like to do like BRRRRs, which I've done a lot of. It's very challenging right now, because the interest rates where they are and the prices where they are, it's almost impossible to make any single family house cash flow at these rates, right? And so we're just not really doing them. We're just doing more wholesales and more wholesales, really. But it doesn't necessarily, but we're still doing the same amount of deals or even more deals. We're just doing different exit strategies than we would, and maybe in the market where we were at, 3-4%, 5%, it was working great, right? Yes. But now with high interest rates, we're just doing more turns. We're not holding stuff as much.
So what Dan's saying is because prices are high, and they are, and because the interest rate is high, and it is, he's had to change. He said he's changing his exit strategies to suit the market conditions. But that doesn't change deal flow. Everybody, oh my gosh, I just want to ring a bell, or hit a gong, something, because that was great, Dan. Very, very good. A couple things that pop into my head though before I was going to wrap up here. But you were saying earlier that you're working a number of strategies in the local market to produce a number of leads that come in on a daily basis. And one of those you said was a lot of calls. Can you share us the lists that you're calling? Are these magical lists or are these just the normal lists that pretty much anybody can get, Dan? And what are they, if you don't mind telling us?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, they're just a normal list. I mean, it's just government lists. We call, pre-foreclosures, foreclosures, probates. I mean, we have co-violations. We do have a driving for dollars list, which I don't know if it's secret, but, we've gotten those leads by driving.
Okay. Yeah. I see a driving for dollars list is kind of secret, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it takes some work to put together, but I mean, honestly, those deals are good, if it just you can get them sometimes, but I mean, they're low motivation a lot of times. I mean, honestly, a lot of the good deals like have come from this, I have this bird dog wholesaler that sent me deals. Literally his strategy was like he would just go on Google Maps, right? Just Google Street View, and he would literally just look at every single house, put it in, True People search, and he would call every single house on the whole street.
Wow.
And like that's how you get deals.
Yeah.
It's just you go to a semi-distressed area and you just call every single house over and over again until he got somebody interested.
Yeah.
So it's like,
wow. That's a level of hustle that most people lack, though. So
yeah,
these lists, though, everybody can get, and because of that, you're still saying though that between you here in my local market, between you and Michael Frank, do you know him?
Michael Frank. Oh yeah, I know Michael Frank.
Are you guys leaving any deals for the rest of us because of the foreclosures and you guys are out there door knocking and hustling? Is there stuff for me?
Absolutely, man. I've got a list. There's over 100 something wholesalers in Kansas City.
Wow, that's
and I work with them. We just bought 2 deals from another wholesaler, and we literally sold them 2 weeks later to somebody for 40,000 more. So I buy stuff from other wholesalers still. Just if the numbers make sense, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's all part of that networking and just being being present in your social in your local market, and just making relationships with people. I've made more money sitting at Applebee's or Chili's or something like that on a Friday night when somebody just texts me and says, "Hey, I got a deal. Can you help me with?" Man, wait a minute, honey. I'm making money at Applebee's or whatever. It's so cool to do that. Somebody wants to know what library you're meeting at every month.
Yeah, we've been meeting at it's the Gladstone Antioch Library. If you guys look me up on Facebook, Daniel Kohanowitz is my name. I'll try to put in here something, but just Dan Kohan. Look me up on Instagram and go to my Facebook, and there's a link tree there, or YouTube. There's a link tree, and you can find that. But I put it out every month, and we usually meet on the second or the third or fourth Wednesday of the month.
All right, I'm gonna try to change the. There it is. If you're looking for, I think on Facebook it's just Dan Kohan. Is that right, or is it Daniel?
Yeah, I got 2. Either works.
Okay, so so go to Facebook and search him, everybody. But if you want to look in the link in the description, there is the link to his YouTube channel. I do recommend that, especially if you're interested in being a kick-ass real estate investor. If you don't want to be a kick-ass real estate investor, you might not like his content because it's pretty kick-ass. Okay. All right, so check him out. I'm definitely following him. If you've got a last minute question, go ahead and throw it in the chat here before we wrap up, everybody, and I'll throw it up on the screen. If you got something for Dan, go ahead and put it here, put it in the comments where you're watching or the live chat, and I'll throw it on the screen. You might see me even, Dan, at the next one.
Yeah, I'd love to meet you in person.
That'd be great.
Always welcome.
I'd like that, dude. I really like you. You got a great vibe about you. It's really cool.
Well, thanks. Appreciate it.
So last question here that comes to my mind is if I'm a new guy, no matter what age I am, doesn't matter, and I want to get started, and I am absolutely starting from scratch, where do you suggest, because you've given me a lot of inspiration tonight, really, but where do I begin? Because there's a lot of voices out there telling me, hey, start here, do this, start here, do that,
Sure.
And I get confused, and I got shiny object syndrome maybe.
Sure.
And Dan, you got me really excited tonight, but I'm scared that this is just another thing that's going to lead me down the maze where there's no cheese. What's your best advice for me, man? Can you help me?
Sure. A lot of people ask me that question.
Good.
To give you a lead to a more in-depth answer, I'll give you an answer and then kind of give you a lead to a better answer. But the lead to the better answer is I did make this course, and there's a recording. It's just like a 2-hour masterclass on A to Z, how to do stuff. It's my whole process broken down. If you guys send me a message, I'll be happy to send you that recording.
Okay, that's a heck of an offer. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you for free. I charge $79 to the people that come, but I'll give you the recording, and it has everything you need to understand and get started.
Whoa, everybody, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? I like that. What a solid dude. Thank you, Dan. So that's an incredible offer. If anybody wants to take him up on that, I think I'm going to come next time, man. Just if you don't mind.
Awesome. I'd love for you to come.
I'm going to pay the money and I'm going to go and everything.
But the classes, the meetup's free. The class is you can come to. It's paid.
Okay. I see.
Yeah. But the meetup is just a networking meetup, and I have a speaker and stuff. But yeah, I mean the thing that if somebody if I was to tell me what I would do again, I mean I wouldn't do it too much different, but I would just pick something. Probably if you're dead broke getting into this, I would cold call or I would door knock, and I would just get a list of leads. You can get them for free. A lot of look up how to use ChatGPT, how to get a list or something. It's not that complicated, and I would just commit to taking the actions to door knock and call. If I'm calling minimum 100 people a day, and if I'm door knocking, I'm probably door knocking 20 doors a day, and it's gonna take a lot of reps. It's gonna take hundreds of calls and dozens or hundreds of door knocks to get a deal, but you will get one if you do it enough. Yeah. And that's I think the difference is just the amount of work. Everyone's trying to look for the silver bullet, and there is no silver bullet. This business is dead simple. It's just a matter of of getting a lot better at it.
Yeah. Would you say this?
Yeah.
Would you say this business has got a lot of routine and boring parts to it once you develop the skill sets and so on and so forth?
100%. It is boring, it's just like, it's not fun all the time, I
Right.
mean, it has a good amount of variety, but
Sure.
it, you just have to do the menial work still, you have to make the calls, you have to call back the leads, you have to knock the doors, go to the appointments. I mean, it's a lot of repetition, but, and it sometimes you feel like you're wasting a lot of time, but you just have to know that whether it's this appointment or the next one or the next one, you will get deals,
Yes.
you'll get better at it and
Yes.
you will get deals. And I think the thing about it is like, it doesn't take very many deals to make a lot of money.
Yes.
Like, I mean, if you just will do one $10,000 assignment a month, you're in the top 1% of earners. You're making $120,000 a year, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
But to do that, you might have to work full time the whole month and get like 1,000 no's, to get that one yes, right? But I think that's where people they drop off because they just don't understand that it's a numbers game and there's just you have to take a lot of action to have success.
Another thing I see people do, Dan, is they get a deal under contract and they stop and they say, "Oh, I've finally arrived and I got a deal under contract and this is it. This is the one." And then they go to marketing it and then they somehow stumble on that one. And it's devastating to their lives because all of their eggs were in this one basket. How many deals do you try to keep going, Dan? Or can you talk a little bit about your KPIs, your numbers a little bit too? Is that okay?
Sure. So it's changing. I had a dialer. I mean, our guy, I have a full-time cold caller and he makes, about 1,500 calls a day, 1,500 dials a day.
Okay.
If I'm manual dialing, I want my guy to get at least 50 to 100 dials a day.
How often do you have to circulate the same data because of being localized?
Every day we're calling the same numbers. Okay. There's not very many pickups, so it's like every day, there's really not a lot of like good leads that are happening every day and every week. So we're, you're calling a lot of the same. And it's a follow up. Like, for example, I have a CRM of warm leads that have their different levels of interest, but like I'm clearing them out every day. I'm calling them back every day or every week or every month, until they're, and so a lot of the calls are to the same people over and over again,
Old nuggets, man.
I mean, every lead, you got to really work it. I mean, I would say that most, depending on where it comes from, but like most leads that I've converted, I mean, I've talked to dozens of times, and to get them to actually work, right? I mean, it's like, it's very rare that you call somebody, they have a price that's good, you go to an appointment and you close. Yeah. It does happen. And I have had deals like that, but those are the rarer ones in this game.
Right. So the follow-up is important in this game.
100%.
Yeah, that's great. And I like that you said that the leads are there's not a lot of great leads right now. You're saying there's not a lot of great leads right now, but then you're also saying I'm still getting deals. The point is that you're making deals work with leads that maybe aren't as good as you wish they were, but your follow-up game is strong. Your follow-up game's not falling off. That's awesome, Dan. Hey, somebody wants to know, do you ever do lease option deals? I'm a big lease options guy.
Sure.
And
you mean like on the back end or the front end?
Yeah, that's a great question too, Dan. I don't know what this person means, Marty. I'm assuming acquisitions, but I know that exit strategy as lease options, you acquire a property through subject to, you sell it to somebody, or you're doing a lease option as an exit strategy, putting someone in the home. That all makes a lot of sense. All right. But are you ever acquiring deals with lease options at all?
Sure.
Really?
So I haven't done that exactly yet. We did buy an apartment building recently, a 26 unit apartment. Initially, that was the plan with the owner, was to buy it on a lease option. We were going to it was about $1 million apartment, and we were going to put about $30,000 down and then pay him basically 7% interest on the balance and for 2 years, and then we would pay him off with the loan. And he didn't want cash at the time. Like, he did not want to sell that property outright because he didn't want to pay the taxes.
I see.
But what ended up happening is that he found a property he could 1031 into, and so we ended up buying it conventionally. But yeah, I would definitely do it. I mean, if the numbers work, I would 100% do lease option. Contract for deeds very similar. Or seller finance. It's very, honestly, it's all extremely similar. It's just the technical words it's basically the same thing. It's just the words on the contract.
Right.
But from a day-to-day, operational cash flow standpoint, it's almost the same.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm glad you said that. What determines what strategy? The homeowner, or you just draw one out of your hat?
Yeah, so a lot of times it's the owner and it's the property. I'd say the motivation and what they're willing to sell for is 95% of it. But if it's like for us, our criteria is if it's like on multifamilies, it's really great. But if it's like a nice house that needs little to no work that we want to hold in our portfolio, I'm probably going to push honesty more for that payments option. Whether it be lease option or seller finance and sub to, because that if I can acquire a property with a bit of equity that's going to cash flow right now with very little money out of my pocket, that's going to try to do that all day. It's just. But if it's something that's like your destroyed house or your standard distressed house situation, like I'm probably not even gonna. It's not even going to be an option for me. Right. There's no point, because it's like if you do something on payments, you're going to have to bring so much cash to the equation that you're going to wonder like why I should have just got a loan for this, right? Because it's like you have so much equity out of your pocket that having low payments doesn't even matter, because you've invested so much money that your cash on equity return is like going to be super low if you do that.
Okay, I'm following you, and I want to recap for everybody that's listening again real quick, because you laid out some pretty awesome things here tonight, and I want to grab something you said earlier and pull it into this part of the conversation, which is when you're talking to a homeowner, you've got a lead, you've been following up with it, and the guy is maybe not interested. Maybe you can't make the numbers work on a low ball cash offer, However, because it's a local market, Dan, you're telling me that your default then is, well, let's try to see if a contract for deed or an owner finance scenario will work, because that makes more sense to own the property rather than to do a lease option in the local market. However, if the homeowner or the property owner were interested or open to a lease purchase and the numbers make sense, he's open to doing that in the local market. I'm going to guess that if Dan was going to do a lease option in this local market as an acquisition strategy, it would probably most likely be a sandwich lease option, because that's probably the most profitable. You probably wouldn't assign it away as a first option. Your first option would probably be, hey, can I sandwich lease option this one? And then if you didn't think it was a good keeper, you'd want to get rid of it or assign it to a tenant buyer or somebody and just walk away from it. Is that right, Dan?
So yeah, as of now, we've just gotten renters, but I definitely would, sell it on, like you say, on a lease option or on a contract for deed to someone else. I have a house in mind right now in KCK that I own, which is it's like a C, D market. And I bought this one of our first burrs, and it's an older house. And I've had it for about a couple years, and I don't really know if I want to keep it for a long time. And so I may just end up selling it on a lease, and that way I can get a down payment, and then I won't have to, get the cash flow, but I won't be responsible for the repairs and stuff down the line. Right.
Last question here, Dan, and I'm very grateful that you shared all this with us, man. We've been here almost an hour, and I'm grateful for you, man. Thanks for being here. Is there any last thing that you want to share with us before we call it an evening? Anything, any books or courses, anything that you want to send us to, or anything? The floor is yours, Dan. I'm so honored to have met you tonight, dude. I'm really stoked about knowing you. You're a cool dude. Thanks for doing this with me.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I would just point you towards, like I say, I'll give you this free wholesale masterclass. Hit me up on Facebook, send me a message, say, hey, I saw you on this stream and I'd like that recording, and I'll shoot it over to you. And that has a lot of resources in it. Again, if you watch that and you know nothing about wholesaling, you're going to come out there ready to start taking action and have a good plan and a lot of strategies to use.
Great. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Dan. You've been a real blessing to us. I might be your number one fan here in Kansas City now, dude. So, so anything that you need in Kansas City that you think that maybe Justin might be able to help, just hit me up, man, because I'm your buddy now, man. I appreciate you, dude. Thanks for being here tonight, Dan. We'll see you again next time, dude. Bye-bye.
All right. We'll see you guys. Thank you so much.